Everyone. Welcome to Light, Laughter, and Lattes. My name is Geri Habstritt. I'm an Avesa quantum healer, medical intuitive, self-ascension intuitive counselor. And so welcome to Oneness Talk Radio, everyone who's tuning in on Oneness Talk Radio, Oneness Talk Radio Facebook, Oneness Talk Radio YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, and all the affiliates. I am glad you are here. And so as a medical intuitive and quantum healer, I am always looking for new ways to increase the flow of energy in the body, looking for new self-healing tools, not only for myself, but for, my clients and people that I'm working with. And there are so many tools, so many ways that we can help ourselves along this journey. And so my innate knowing is that we are all energy, and our energy is meant to be free flowing like a child. It's meant to be creative, playful, inspirational, a lot of joy. And primarily that's how it is until, a life event comes along, until, a loss or a pain or a trauma or unmet expectation, or a perceived failure, whatever it may be. And so as a person, you have the opportunity, or as a child usually, to, release that pent up energy, either having a temper tantrum, crying, screaming, whatever it is, that's a child's way of processing that extra energy. But if you grew up in maybe a household where you're told it's not okay to cry or it's not okay to express your energy, you may have been one who held that energy in. And even, many adults do that. They just don't know how to express, so they hold it in. And so all energy needs to be expressed. And if it's not expressed, it can coagulate in the body and create a congestion. And because we are creators, we go through our life creating through our thoughts, creating through what we focus on, and we create through our unconscious energy that's been healed or not. And so we will call to ourselves more experiences that will mirror the unhealed experiences. And it's a gift, because when those experiences happen, it triggers us. And that's really the idea of a trigger. It's meant to trigger that energy up for healing. And so if we had the awareness and we could go, oh, thank you for the trigger, and, stomp your feet, scream, swing a pillow, whatever it takes, we could let it go. But oftentimes we won't do that. We'll blame the other person, or we'll go into a judgment. Why did I do that? Or I wish I would have, could have, should have. And we add to these energies, we add to these coagulations, and we can turn it into dis-ease in the body. So literally, we block our own flow. So now our energy is a little heavier. We don't have the flow. It's, primarily coagulates in the sacral area, the lower belly. And so we have less energy that arises to use for our digestion. And we kind of lose our vitality and our joy. And so there's many, many, many ways and tools that we can use to help move the energy more in the body. Diet, primarily plant-based is a great way to do that. Lots of exercise, lots of water. Acupuncture will help increase the flow. Journaling will help increase the flow. Even if you do forgiveness work, you are adding more light to yourself, more high frequency energy to clear out that low frequency energy. I have tools called the Egyptian healing rods that are wonderful. And I know many of you are aware of crystals. Crystals are a great tool for either giving you energy or for, bursting out old energies, bursting out those coagulations. I use them often in my healing practice. Matter of fact, there was a period of time where I literally carried a backpack full of crystals because they were too heavy for my purse and it was weighing down my shoulder. And so they're wonderful. And recently I was presented with something new, a brand new tool. and they're called X39 stem cell activation patches. And they're made up actually of crystals and amino acids. And they kind of look like a little Band-Aid. They're just like this. And all I know is they're awesome. You can put them anywhere on the body, and it's like putting a crystal in that spot. It'll stimulate the energy and increase the energy flow. And so that's about as scientific as I get with these, which is why I have with me my guest today, Dr. Harmon, who can actually explain stem cell activation, what it does, how it helps the body. And he is more informed and can share those details with you. So Dr. Harmon is certified in reading quantitative EEGs and doing neurofeedback. He got trained in functional medicine and cold laser therapy, and is founded the Clear Mind Center in Boise, Idaho. And so welcome, Dr. Harmon.
Hello. I appreciate that introduction. I'll make one correction to that. It's
Okay.
functional neurology is a training. I've been a chiropractor for 30 years and had a major shift a few years back. We'll talk about it if you want to, but we do the functional neurology, and we do cold laser therapy and help people get their brains right.
Well, that sounds awesome. Let's actually talk about how you got into this, because I love the stories behind how we all got to where we are today, because there's always things that happen, and sometimes not so fun, that get us to where we are.
Yeah, that is true. It was rather shocking to my whole family, actually. I was, as I mentioned, a chiropractor for, at that time, it was 22 years. And in 2010, my 18-year-old niece committed suicide, my youngest sister's oldest daughter. And then a year, almost to the day later, in March of 2011, my oldest daughter's husband was murdered. There in Meridian in the Walgreens parking lot. You probably heard about that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, then my younger daughters had, shortly thereafter, they had anxiety, depression, and insomnia. And we went through 3 or 4 years of prescription drugs and counseling, and those just weren't working for my daughters. And so I decided that I'm the dad, I'm going to find things that fix brains. And almost right after that, I was pushed even more in this direction by getting a life-threatening bone infection because of a root canal. So the bridge was burned, and I decided I'm going a totally different direction. And so I went and got certified in reading quantitative EEGs, like you mentioned, and doing neurofeedback. And then functional neurology came in, and cold laser came in. Cold lasers are wonderful because any cell that they shine on or hit with photons instantly increases their ATP production. So if you do that over the brain, before you train the brain with neurofeedback, the brain has more energy to do the training. And so we took some pretty tragic things and decided to actually use that as motivation to help. Nobody should go through that. And no family should go through what we're going through. So now we get to help hundreds or even thousands of people with similar things, and it's really rewarding. That's where I get all of my endorphins, from listening to success stories. We had some people come in today, their son was so anxious and angry, and talking about running out in front of a truck and ending everything. And those are the kind of people that we help. We rescue those people now.
So where did these patches come along in this journey? How does that all relate?
The patches came along my path right a few days after the quarantine started. I was the doctor I work with and I had looked at buying an office condominium out and near the freeway and a big development here, and met with the architect, and that's where we were headed, in that direction. And then a friend of mine called me up and said, "What do you know about stem cells?" I said, "Well, there's a doctor in our clinic who does them. They're $5,000. They are somebody else's stem cells. They usually extract them from a recent birth, the umbilical cord, and get those stem cells that way. And that's why they're not legal in all countries, because they're somebody else's stem cells. They don't truly know the long-term consequences of that." And he said, "Well, what if you could activate your own stem cells by wearing a patch on your body?" I was pretty skeptical. My science mind kicked in, and I'm not so sure about that. So I did some research, and I went to the doctor's website who actually discovered the substance that the patch elevates in the bloodstream. The company had to prove to not the FDA, the US Patent Office, that wearing the patch elevates a peptide in the bloodstream. It's called the GHK copper peptide. The doctor who discovered it back in 1973 is Dr. Laurent Picard, and his website, I would encourage you to go to it. It has nothing to do with this company who makes this, but it's called Reverse Aging with GHK.com. Reverse Aging with GHK.com. And you'll see that GHK copper peptide has a lot of effects, not the least of which is that it helps our body repair up to 4,200 of our genes. And you'll see on that site lots of different things, neuroprotective, anti-cancer. It smooths skin wrinkles and depths of wrinkles and increases hair growth. All kinds of wonderful things, speeds up wound healing. But the key thing that it does is it actually activates our body to make more of our own stem cells. And these are the pluripotent stem cells that can basically morph into any other type of cell. They're the fix-it crew. They're the regenerators. They go around your body and they're attracted to inflammation where problems are, and then they go to work fixing things and becoming different cells that one needs to fix. So I've been in practice 30 years. This is the most brilliant biohack. And unless you have another question right now, I'd like to explain how they work. Would that work for you?
Absolutely. Please do.
Okay. I got to interview the man who discovered or developed this, and I asked him point blank, while your friends were out, thinking about football and girls, were you sitting at home thinking, how can I combine some amino acids, some salts, and have those things form their own crystal lattice structure that we can put on the skin to reflect photons our bodies are already making and emitting? Not only reflect them, but concentrate them, specifically reflect certain far infrared and near infrared and far infrared frequencies, as well as other biophotons. So you have this patch and acts like a Wi-Fi amplifier and a mirror of sorts that reflects back some of our own biophotons back into the body. And he figured out how to tweak the substance inside of the patches so that you can have different effects. Like the one we're talking about, it's called the X39, and that is the one that elevates the GHK copper peptide. And I'm not going to go into detail, but there are other things, and even one coming up where he's figured out how to cause the body to block 5G with a patch. So this X39 elevates our own stem cells by elevating that GHK copper peptide. That's how it works. And he started laughing when I asked him that. So whenever your friends were thinking about girls and football, you were thinking about that. And then he went into the story of how he started, and he was tasked with developing a way, and this is for Navy SEALs that would be in a submarine and would have to stay awake for 100 hours. And the military wanted them to not have to do things like amphetamines and other things and lots of caffeine. He figured out a way. This was his first patch. He figured out a way to signal the body to make more ATP, more of its own energy. That's how he started in the military. And then it led to this wonderful new technology called the stem cell activating patch.
Oh, I loved hearing that story. It's always fun to hear about how some of these things come about.
Right. Yeah, it was really great being able to interview him. Actually, last Wednesday, a week ago tonight, I got to interview him and hear how that whole thing started. And the company is 15 years old. Actually, they helped the Stanford swim team win a bunch of Olympic medals in the 2004 Olympics with that energy patch I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But the second one was called carnosine, which increases carnosine in the body that athletes need for athletic performance and muscle building. And they won so many medals that other teams complained that they were doping, because how can everybody decrease their time if you're not doping? So they were investigated by the World Doping Association as well as the USA Doping Agency, and they found that there wasn't any doping, and so they are legal to use as athletes, whatever level you are participating in. That's fascinating. So 15-year-old company, the X39 stem cell activating patch, is about 2 years old, and they are in 100 different countries. And we incorporated them into our protocols here. In fact, when somebody starts with us on our protocols for the brain, we actually give them a month's supply. And here's why. There was a brain study done with EEG, quantitative EEGs that I do, and they looked at brain coherence. And to understand coherence, if you think of a weather map that's different colors, and it might say, there's a high pressure in California and it's all red and orange over there, and a low pressure in Idaho and it's all green and dark blue, or whatever it is. The brain, when you have too much or too little activity in different parts of the brain, this is where we get symptoms. You should have the brain should regulate itself pretty much equally, side to side, front to back. And when you don't have good coherence, you'll see like that weather map where one side is a lot more active or the front's more active. This is where symptoms come from. Just one example, sorry, I bumped my camera. One example is anxiety. There's one of our brain waves that is supposed to have more power on the left, and that is our beta. And I look at that as jet fuel. And the left side of the brain is more analytical, and it's the IQ, and it's the gas of the system. If the right side of the brain starts getting more of that causes anxiety. That's just an example. Well, the 6-week study that was done showed that wearing the patch actually gives someone a lot more coherence, where there's not too much or too little. It's pretty much running as it should be in neutral. It's not all revved up on one side or in the front or in the back, affecting how that functions. So that's why we incorporated them into our protocols. Other docs, like stem cell doctors, are incorporating them into their protocols, but here's why. You can inject a couple billion stem cells into somebody. It does not raise the GHK copper peptide that would have your body increase your own. Stem cells are attracted to inflammation. This is why sometimes they don't work when they inject them, because you get this flood of stem cells, and if they're extremely inflamed, it's like a moth being attracted to a fire. Then a lot of those stem cells just die that you spent $5,000 for. The patch elevates our own stem cells, and it keeps doing it day after day after day while we use them. I think we have a couple of questions. Are they in Hungary? I believe so. They're all over Europe. when I sent some to my friend in Italy, they were shipped to Ireland, but I can actually check and see if they are in Hungary. They're in a lot of European, Central European, all over, even a lot of countries in Africa. And so if you go on the website, you can actually select those that you want to hear stuff in. You actually have to select your country when you go on the website, which was really surprising to me that they're in so many countries. Any other questions?
I do have a question for you that someone had asked me earlier too about the injecting. So you can inject stem cells, but how about if you inject the GHK copper peptides alone? Is there a difference between that and using the patch?
Well, there are creams and products that are used for the very thing that GHK is known for, and that is for smoothing skin and decreasing wrinkle depth. Excuse me, but you have to keep applying it, and you have to keep getting injected. Some of the research that was done on healing discs, they actually injected GHK copper peptide in the skin right above or right near where the discs were herniated, had tremendous healing by doing that. But imagine if you could elevate that peptide constantly all day long, and all you have to do is put something like a Band-Aid on. You showed it earlier, but yeah, this is what it looks like. And even grandma can remember to just put that on.
Right.
And so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to take vitamin, there's the other thing about vitamins too. If you're taking them by mouth, if you don't have a perfect gut with great absorption, it'll just get digested, even in the acid in your stomach anyway, into the 3 different amino acids that it is. A peptide is not a protein, but it's made out of the same stuff. But peptides are signaling molecules. The GHK copper peptide happens to be one that your body uses to signal these different things, and they're numerous. It's not just activating your stem cells. I helped a woman in Atlanta who had been bitten by a pit viper, and she didn't find out about them until after 10 days of living in this unbelievable pain, purple leg. The doctors say you're going to have a big old necrotic hole in your leg from that poison. And I was able to locate somebody back there where she could, a place where she could get them. And 3 days later, she was back on her boat. She never lost the skin, the tissue. It never got necrotic. Because of that GHK accelerating wound healing. That's what happened. So the answer is, I've not heard of injections, but I have read about creams and other things that people put on their skin, or maybe even take by mouth. That'd be a good question. I'll do a little research on that.
Okay, let's like cover the basics of it. So when someone gets these, you need to wear them 12 hours on and 12 hours off. So what's the reason for, taking them off for 12 hours?
You
Oh, I lost your volume a little bit.
Yeah, you were cutting in a little bit.
Okay, I think we're back now.
Okay.
Did you hear my question?
I did not.
Oh, okay. So with these patches, you wear them 12 hours and you take them off for 12 hours.
Correct.
So what is the reason for the downtime, not having them on?
That's a really good question. There's a phenomenon called attenuation, attenuation. And what that is the body, you get a decreasing effect the longer your body is exposed to anything. It's like working out. Is it good to work out? Yeah, is it good to work out 3 hours? Probably not. Is it good to work out 3 hours every day? No. Maybe that's just one example, but when your body's exposed to something, it starts to accommodate to it, and you get an attenuated effect. In other words, a decreasing returns for that. And also, we want to follow the body's natural cycle of, stimulate and then regenerate at night, activate during the day, regenerate at night. And so the patches are best used 12 hours on, 12 hours off. You can, however, and some of them are designed to use at night. The AEON, that's AEON, is extremely good for inflammation. And when used in conjunction, if somebody has a lot of pain, it really cuts down on the inflammation for injuries or other issues that people have going on with joints or other things. That actually activates an enzyme in the liver that triggers a cascade of events, decreasing certain other signaling molecules that trigger inflammation. So that helps just quench that or shuts off that inflammation that we get in our body. Inflammation.
Whoop, we have a frozen screen. Let's see if it fixes itself here in just a second. Whoop. Looks like we lost Dr. Harmon, but I suspect he'll be back on. And if there's anyone out there listening, if they have any questions, you can put them in the chat now. Oh, he's back. Here we go. You're back on.
Oh, are you back?
Yep, we're back. We're back on air.
When did I leave?
I don't know. I think you finished your sentence anyways. You didn't leave mid-sentence.
Okay, good. Good.
So you were discussing the 12 on and the 12 off,
Right.
and the value of that. And then also they have recommended places to put them. So one is like on the back of the neck, kind of, and then one's on the lower back. So are these like key meridian places, or do they have studies on these exact spots that they tend to work better for more general the whole body?
Those are the points they've done their studies on, and they are the governing vessel and the conception vessel meridian acupuncture meridians. But truly, they can be placed anywhere on the body, and it elevates the GHK. They did them at those points because of knowing what we know about acupuncture meridians. Those are very important points. Some of the other patches are placed on specific acupuncture points, like the glutathione patch that we have. Imagine most people, I would say glutathione is one of the lesser known in the general public, but it's the master immune switch. How important is that right now in these COVID times? And it's very protective of lung tissue. Every cell in our body has glutathione in it, and the level of glutathione is directly related to our lifespan. If you take a glutathione supplement, you can raise your glutathione by 10 to 20%. Our glutathione patch raises the glutathione, as according to a study that was done, on average 300% within 24 hours. Wow. So it's really impactful. And there are different points that they found best for that. Again, you can put it in the body. I know somebody had knee replacements, and the rapid healing using the AEON, there was hardly any swelling, and the rapid healing at 7 weeks, you can hardly even see the incision site. It's pretty incredible.
Wow. And we have another question too. So what is the most common response you get from people, like new people just using the patches?
Right away, most people noticed a little bit better sleep, a better, elevated mood. That was my response. And then I didn't get, my big shift came at about 2.5 months. And I'm somebody who suffered from gut problems my whole life. My mom had to take a lot of antibiotics when I was in the womb. So I came out of the womb with gut issues, I think, but it was a lifelong battle. And I had done a lot of work, and, it's another story, but what happened with me, there was huge shifts in my gut health about 2.5 months, and then huge shift in my heart health at 4.5 months. And then my hair started turning brown again. It used to be a lot grayer. My friends were saying, do you realize your hair's turning brown? No. Because when something happens over time, it's difficult to see. You see yourself every day in the mirror. Another question, would wearing the X39 patches during the night hours while sleeping be just as good or better because the body is resting and may be more capable of healing, etc.? I have actually found, thanks for the question, Thomas, some people respond better wearing the patch at night, 12 hours at night, and then off during the day. It's recommended wearing them during the day, and it's for one main reason, I believe, or this is one of the main reasons. Some people feel such an increase in their energy that they have a hard time falling asleep because they're so energized. And so those people, you wouldn't want to have them wearing at night. In fact, I tell people, if they give you so much mental clarity and energy, just wearing it for 12 hours, take it off at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and let your body, not be so active in the brain and have so much energy. Most of the time that doesn't occur, and it's just normal. You just do it during the day and then off at night. The people that I've had respond better at night were people who were suffering from a lot of pain that was preventing them from sleeping. And so they would wear it at night, and their pain, some people get such a rapid decrease in pain. It's when they tell you about it, it sounds like they're making something up. It's like they're actually telling you about a dream they had, because that can't happen. I had someone who had MS, and after 5 days, she was doing wall squats, and not walking. She didn't have to have her walker anymore. And I'm looking at her, and I don't know about that, but it was true. I have a science background, and I testimonials are nice, but studies are great. I like to get that data as well. They've done a lot of research on the patches. Another question, did you have digestive detox with that healing? I too had the same, where my mom was on antibiotics while I was in the womb. Wow, I have a kindred spirit here and have issues that I have worked on. I went through, and I'll explain briefly what happens, but I went through, before that big gut breakthrough, I went through a healing crisis. So briefly, that's kind of common knowledge out there, healing crisis and retracing and detoxing. But nobody talks about the apoptosis that goes on, and they don't even know what it means. Our bodies destroy 50 to 70 billion of our cells every day to make way, get rid of the old sick ones. They're just old, and make new ones. Here's an example. Let's say somebody has a bad diet their whole life. They're eating out of a box in a bag, and somebody talks them into eating organic food. All actually real food from nature and not meat. After they've been doing that for a very short period of time, their body sees, holy cow, I have all this nutrition. I could kill more of you guys off and make better cells. So you actually get more than the 50 to 70 billion. Now your body has to process that and move it through. So they feel worse, and they go, oh man, eating organic sucks. Then they go back to eating out of a box in a bag, and they don't realize that their body was almost to the point where they made some good cells, and then they quit. Sometimes that happens when you start replacing your stem cells. Your body says, man, I got the resources I need. I'm going to go for it. And then you feel a little bit worse. Complicating that is if I talk about the drainage funnel. The bottom of the funnel is the bowel. And if the bowel's all clogged up and you're not having a couple of bowel movements a day, things are going to back up, and your liver and bile duct are going to back up, and your kidneys are going to back up. Everything's backed up. So if somebody's not eliminating well, they need to do that first, whatever program they start, where they're going to actually get better nutrition or better, like more stem cells. Otherwise, they're probably not going to feel well for a while. You have to get those bowels moving.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any digestive detox? That was the same question.
Yeah.
All right.
So I can share my experience with the patches. So I was actually doing some healing work with someone, and she dropped them by and just said, I want to have your opinion on these. And I didn't really read the instructions. I just saw 12 on there. So, so I assumed, okay, you wear them for 12 days. So I slapped 2 of them on me, not 1, and wore them for 12 days straight. And she said, well, Geri, did you notice anything from these patches? And I'm like, well, I don't think so. I do so many things all the time. I can't really tell. And then we started talking, and I'm like, wait a minute. I was supposed to have these on for 12 hours and only 1 at a time. I'm like, okay, I need to take them off. So then I take them off, and it was this big, it felt like I'd lost my best friend. That's the only way I can explain it, because I was getting so much support. My body was feeling so supported by these, and I got used to the support, so I didn't notice it until I removed the support, and I just went, oh, now I got to wait 12 hours before I can put it back on again, before I get my friend back.
Geri, that's a first.
Oh, so yeah, they, and I've played around with them quite a bit because I'm very, very energetically sensitive and can feel energy. I've noticed that if you just set them on your head, you can open up to inspiration, to your higher resources, to the divine. If I'm sitting in front of the computer, if I put it on my third eye, I can actually feel it protect me from the EMFs that are coming from the computer.
Wow.
And, we're constantly being bombarded by all these energies that are subtly closing in on our energy fields, and we get used to it, and we don't notice that it's having an effect on us, until something like this comes along and we put it on, and now all of a sudden we've got more energy available. We have more support. We have a little more protection. We're feeling a little bit better. I've also noticed that no matter what chakra I put them on, the energy flow increases there. And so I know it's probably because of the crystal matrix in them. It's doing like maybe what a laser would do. And I notice a significant difference, and people might want to try this, as to like putting it on my digestive system in the front, or moving it to the back along my spine and putting it into the digestive area there. So
I've done that as well.
Pardon me?
I've done that as well. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I got my phone ringing. I should have turned it off here. There. Yeah, so it's fun to kind of play around with them and try them in different places. But that's the biggest thing that I've noticed, is just the extra amount of support that we're getting. And so important in this world that we're living in now, with so much EMFs and so much computer time we're all having, and less outside sun time, and, whatever, the chemtrails that are, all the different energy, the stuff that's landing on our food, right? Even if we're eating organic, who knows what extra side spray we're getting on it. And so we have to be so diligent with our detoxing and how we're eating and how we're caring for our energy, so we can, can keep our vitality or increase it even better.
Right. And this is what led David Schmidt, the man who invented them, to develop a patch that signals your body's resources to block 5G. And that's one of the patches he's coming out with soon. The other ones are all related to specific stem cell stimulation. Like he said, he was able to regrow a wisdom tooth with one of the specific for teeth. So that's a pretty I don't know, high tech. That takes it to a new level to me. I've noticed with mine that I can test myself what is the best spot today, or do I need those today? I'm a pretty energetic guy, so I don't usually need the energy patches. And there are two of them. They work on polarity. There's a tan one and a white one. And you can put them on the bottom of the feet, or you can put them up near the collarbone at the lung points. And so I'll just stand on them and do my own muscle test. And actually, as soon as I can stand up, I can tell, nope, I don't need them today. I actually felt a little weaker. Or I'll put them up here and just kind of lean back, do a test. And your body will tell you if that's a good spot. Sometimes I, put them in different spots. There's one right at the base of the sternum is a really, really good spot as well. The science, I think, if I get any more, it's going to be, it might just be a little overload. I just want you to understand that they're organic, they're crystals. A crystal, the substances form their own crystal. It's not a named crystal. It's basically, they put some things together that form their own crystal structure, and each patch reflects back in different frequencies that we are emitting from our body, and those are the signals to do different things. And that's those are patches that they have.
So it sounds like, too, they help to maybe even shift patterns in the body is kind of what you're saying, right?
Right. Not only shift patterns, but if you have somebody who is maybe a little older, I mean, I'm 66 and I've lost more than 60% of my body's ability to make stem cells and GHK copper peptide. That declines as we age. So all of a sudden, your body, and we go back to losing your stem cells. Why do we lose it? We don't know. Why do you lose GHK? Could it be pollution? Could it be EMFs? Could it be the food we eat? We don't know. Maybe it just goes on so long that it just can't do it anymore because of the food we have or other exposures to molds and toxins just walking outside. Well, when you put the patch on the body, it elevates that GHK, which then elevates your stem cells. I want to tell you, there are a lot of good things that happen when you elevate your stem cells. And anybody who's interested, you could go to one of the Zooms. They have a Zoom at some point every day for about a half an hour, and they have people from different parts of the country and to come in and tell their story. I got to interview a woman more than 3 months ago who had lupus so bad, she was actually in quarantine for 4 years. She was on a lung transplant list. She had really bad COPD. And there's some people that talked to me. She lives in Hawaii, and they called me and they were asking me, what patches should I use to help with this? And I told her which ones to use and when. And then this woman who could not bathe herself, who could not dress herself or cook her own meals, I got to interview her 2 weeks ago. And to see what a bright light, she had pictures that she'd been able to go out with her sister, and she showers alone. She takes care of herself. She fixes her own food. The patches have the potential to change all aspects of healthcare, because when you can regenerate something, you're not talking about masking with a drug or changing symptoms. You're talking about truly regenerating something that has gone away in somebody, or they've lost their ability to fight something and now you restore it. So that, to me, has worldwide implications for all all aspects of healthcare. There's another question.
Mhm.
Is it better to place the patch on troubled area versus placing the patch on the back of the neck? No, I think that should be, in other words, will placing the patch on the back of the neck serve all parts of the body? I'm going to answer that by stating the reason they have you put it on the back of the neck or 3 inches below the belly button is that's because that's where the research was done. But I know hundreds of people, and also myself, where I put it on the spot that is the most troubling. Like somebody has really bad shoulder pain, they'll put it right on the shoulder, or shoulder dysfunction or pain. We can't, prescribe them. We can't diagnose it. And we always state that they're not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But I want to tell you, a lot of good things happen when you increase your own stem cell and your GHK copper peptide. If you go to that site, reverseagingwithghk.com, you will see it's about 6 different categories of benefit that you get just by elevating that GHK. And one of them is on the cardiovascular system. The study that LifeWave did, that's the name of the company, they had people wear the patches for 6 weeks after they did all kinds of testing, heart rate variability, vessel flexibility, blood pressure, all of those. They had them wear the patch for 6 weeks. What they found after those 6 weeks is wearing the patch actually reversed the age of the cardiovascular system by 2 months. So think about that. Let's do the math. Mm-hmm. For every day I wear this patch, the age of my cardiovascular system reverses by about a day and a third. Every day that goes by, that's the number one killer. And that's why, and I hope it didn't sound too bold, but these patches have the potential of changing all aspects of healthcare, because if you can reverse the age of your cardiovascular system, what systems does that affect? Just all of them.
All of them, yeah.
If you get more oxygen, more blood flow, more nutrients, more toxins hauled away in your veins to be recycled or excreted, if you can do that every single day that you're alive, reverse the age of your cardiovascular system by a day and a third, that should be a big enough reason to try to use them the rest of your life, which I'm going to do. And then look at the brain. What does the brain control? Pretty much everything. Your immune system. The left side of the brain activates immunity. The right side of the brain suppresses immunity. What if you have imbalance there with your coherence? And your right side of your brain's not up to snuff? That means you can't prevent your autoimmune system from going haywire because it can't suppress immunity. But if the left side of the brain is weaker and it's not up to snuff, you're going to catch every cold that comes through town. That comes from the brain. So it's not, when we talk about the immune system, we talk about the immune cells and fighting this and fighting that. But really, the balance of that comes from the brain. So if you can get better coherence in the brain, side to side, front to back, there are a lot of systems that are going to be better as well.
Yeah. So I know when some people first use them, and maybe they go and read lots of the testimonials and stuff, so they have high expectations. And maybe they use them for a week, and I didn't feel anything. I don't notice anything. So what do you, I have my own idea, but I want to know what your idea is on.
Oh, I'll tell you one of the, I don't know, I don't want to be kind of negative, but the most astounding statements, let's just say, that I heard. The father had ALS, and they used him for 4 days. And they said, well, we didn't notice much difference, except dad had a lot more attention. He was, I thought, are you kidding me? He has ALS. This has been going on for years and years. Let's have a little patience. So here are some of the things that can affect somebody. Number one, that drainage funnel. If they're stopped up, they're only having a bowel movement every other day or once a week, you know what? They're not going to have the constitutional foundation to fix things. They have to take care of their toxicity first. Mm-hmm. If they're not drinking enough water, if they're not getting enough minerals, magnesium, calcium, zinc, in particular, these acupuncture meridians work on electrolyte balance and electrical charge. So if you don't have those electrical charges, they're not going to work as well either. So we need to make sure we're getting minerals. Anybody in the United States who's not taking magnesium is deficient in magnesium, but we cannot get enough in our diet anymore because of artificial fertilizer. It binds magnesium in the soil and the plants can't get it. So we don't get it. So you need to take magnesium. You need to make sure that you're drinking enough water, and you need to make sure you're eliminating every day. And here's another biggie that most people have not, they don't think about this. If you have food sensitivities or food allergies, you are inflaming your body every single day. If you are gluten intolerant and you're eating gluten every day, you are inflaming your body every day. And if your body makes an antibody to gluten and you keep eating gluten and feeding that pathway, there's a part of some cells in our cerebellum. There's a part of it that looks very similar to gluten in the amino acid sequence in the protein. If you have antibodies to gluten, they can actually attack your cerebellar cells, and you can have gluten ataxia. And you might think you have some other neurological disease, but stop eating gluten. So there are these other things, stem cells can do a lot of stuff, but if you're not pooping, right, you're backing up your liver and your gallbladder and your kidneys and your lymphatic, and then it'll probably come out your skin. Yes. If it doesn't have another route, those toxins will come out in the skin. You'll get a rash. Well, was that like a side effect of the patch? No, it wasn't. The body's doing the thing it can do for the resources that you give it. If you can't go through the bowel and you can't go through the kidney, can't go through the lymphatic, you'll go through the skin.
Yeah, well, it's a powerful way to detox is through the skin. And so I have done a lot of detoxing, and it was like you were saying earlier, when someone who's not eating organic and then they switch. And the same thing for a cleanse. I've done up to a 40-day cleanse before, and it's constant releasing of emotions and garbage. And I mean, as soon as you shut down your digestive system, which is a huge energy robber of the body, and then your body goes into self-healing mode, and all this stuff starts coming up. And my sense is that's kind of what's happening. People who are using these who maybe have a higher toxicity level, they maybe haven't been eating healthy, they maybe haven't had cleanses before, and now they're introducing this light frequency, on a really, let's say white for light and darker for a heavier energy, and you're introducing that. It's going to take a while for them to even notice it. Chances are they're going to get a detox right away. So they're going to need to drink lots of water, do a lot of movement to keep the energy flowing. And, eventually my sense is these patches will go to where your body needs it the most,
right?
Unless you're putting it right on a pain somewhere. But if you're putting it on a general meridian spot, my sense is it's just going to go and help where you need it the most.
You're right. And they found that those two areas where it goes first is the gut and the immune system. I have people who start going through this detox, those symptoms. I'll have them fast, just go on a water fast, because you know what that does. Yep. Your body starts consuming itself, all the bad cells that are being killed off, or actually causes that to happen so that things don't back up so much.
I had one more question too here. Do they interfere with medications?
There are no known interferences with any medications. There's one. I asked David Schmidt specifically this a week ago. I said, David, are there any contraindications to using these patches? And this is what he said. If someone has had an organ transplant and they are taking an immunosuppressant drug, you do not want to introduce something that will stimulate the immune system, as stem cells will do, as the GHK copper peptide will do, because they are taking a drug to prevent their own immune system from consuming that foreign object in their body, which is the transplanted organ. There is no research on pregnant women. There is no research on children, because nobody ever does research on pregnant women and children. We have lots of testimonials of people using them on their children, like if they got a serious burn or a compound fracture, and it just rapidly heals things. Anybody who asked me about using them on pregnant women, I just say, just wait till they deliver. We don't know, and I would hate to be wrong.
Right.
So I just say, just tell them to wait. People ask me all the time about using them when they're doing chemo. I say, I never recommend doing anything to interfere with what's going on, because it is so complex, and tweak this part of the immune system. And so you just don't know. Just have them wait until they're done with the chemo, and then there's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Your body can go and fix things. And if you go on that one website that I said, GHK, reverse aging with GHK, he actually talks about how the scarring from radiation therapy for cancer was rapidly reversed, because the GHK copper peptide both increases collagen production, but also increases collagen destruction. And why would you want to destroy collagen? Well, scar tissue is haphazard deposition of collagen, whereas normal tissue is flexible. So destroying the cross linkages makes it so scar tissue becomes more like normal tissue. And he talks about that on that website, the man who discovered the GHK.
Wow. And I know people are having a lot of good luck using them on their animals too, right? Horses, they have.
Oh, yeah. I tell them, wear it during the day, put it on the back of your animal's neck, over the fur, it doesn't matter. Put them on your animal at night where they can't realize they have something and then lick it off.
Yeah.
And there's one woman showed a video of this chicken who couldn't even stand up. And she put the patch on it for a few days, and then she has a video of this chicken walking around. What did it do? I don't know. I healed the chicken.
That's funny. You started out, because I want to end where we started. You said you asked Dave Schmidt, the creator of these,
yes,
what he was doing, while everyone else was out playing, and he was inventing. I don't remember if you gave the answer. Did you?
He chuckled and he said, "Oh, this is actually how it happened." But prior to him inventing that energy patch, he actually developed a combination of electromagnetic field and it's a machine that actually activates stem cells in planaria, in other animals, but also in humans. But everybody can't walk around wearing that big old contraption that's that big. That's how he started. But then he said this when I asked him about, when I made a comment about this patch that elevates a different peptide in the body that blocks 5G. And I said, thank you, David, for developing that. And he said, no, thank God for making the system there. All we're doing is activating it, and it elevates this one peptide that acts like a shield to block 5G. And he says, almost like somebody planned for it. So that's David Schmidt for you. He's really a humble guy and really a decent person.
Yeah. Well, this was great. We are out of time, but It was great. Thank you so much for coming and doing this with us today. I think you had lots of great information, and I hope everyone listening checks them out because they are a great tool for self-healing, well-being, vitality, renewal, detoxing, all those things. So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for having me on. Are you going to have them give them a link where they can check it out?
Yep, below all of this information, there's a link for everyone to check out. So
awesome. Thank you again. I had a lot of fun.
Great.
Hope you got something out of it.
I did too. It was awesome. Bye.
Bye-bye.